All right, well, the High Court in Pretoria will only rule on the Ivermectin case this afternoon after Judge Cassim Sardiwalla indicated that he wants to see all the parties in his chambers. AfriForum and the medical doctors submitted a draft order to the court, but it hasn't been made an order of the court yet. Let's discuss this further then. We're joined via Zoom by COVID Home Management Team founder, Dr Naseeba Kathrada. Doctor, a very warm welcome to you and thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Kathrada, where do you stand on this issue? Obviously, it is now in the hands of the court and we'll finally get some kind of clarity as to what happens. But you hear SAPRA saying that they are encouraging clinical trials, which one would obviously think is what we'd want to see happening. And the fact that at this point it hasn't been authorized as we speak. But on the other side of the debate, you do have AfriForum and their team of doctors who are saying that people should be able to access the drug, should be able to access Ivermectin. What are they essentially relying on? We understand the issue of accessibility to drugs, accessibility to healthcare, but what are they exactly relying on as they put their debate, their argument forward?
Well, the thing is, I've just heard the interview with Dr. Simeti, and she mentioned one trial where they were showing no efficacy in Ivermectin. There are many other trials that show that Ivermectin has been proven to work. So we as a group of doctors are saying that we want Ivermectin to be in our arsenal as treatment for COVID-19. And we've had really good response today because last week, I think it was the 16th of March, a cream by the cilantro cream, like Dr. Simeti mentioned, with one has not been in South Africa. And what this means is that Ivermectin can be compounded by a compounding pharmacy. So a doctor can script Ivermectin now on a per patient basis. And a doctor will be able to give this cream, sorry, not the cream, they'll be able to give a tablet to their patients because the cream has now been registered. So for us, it is a big victory because our relief sought in our matter was to get Ivermectin readily available for our patients. And that we have achieved.
All right. Now, I've been reading reports from international media, and there was one particular article that was written, in fact, 2 days ago, that said that, and you know, we've heard a lot of negativity around what's being called the South African strain and so forth. And, you know, we've heard WHO saying this thing needs to actually stop. But I want to point you to one of the articles that were put up, in fact, by the BBC, which said that South African medics are using unproven worm drug to treat COVID-19, and they were in fact talking about Ivermectin. What do you say to all of this negativity, though, that does actually surround the drug? In your response to that, it seems that you believe that Ivermectin should be accessible, and you're happy about the fact that in some cases it will be. But what's your response to some of the negativity? I mean, as I said, SAPRA saying that there should be more clinical trials. You're saying that there are clinical trials already. But let's talk more on those clinical trials, in fact, because at the end of the day, we're talking about the fact that people are wanting to be vaccinated, but they certainly do need more information. So it can't be a case of some doctors saying, yes, it should be used, some saying, no, give us the information so that we then make informed decisions. I mean, as SAPRA is saying that it's not authorized, there's not enough data showing, we're going to hear that, but we're also wanting to hear you. So talk to us about these clinical trials that you speak of that we should then be relying on as well.
Okay, so the only thing that is certain about this pandemic is its uncertainty. And we know that there are many different trials being done. The specific one that Dr. Simeti mentioned was a trial that was done in mildly to moderately ill individuals. Now, we know that with the COVID-19, more than 95% of people who are infected will get better. So what that study was initially supposed to show is how quickly people deteriorate in the two groups. And then they suddenly realized, regardless of whether they were on Ivermectin or whether they were not, nobody was getting sicker because they were a group of young, healthy individuals. There are other studies that show that in a group that was given Ivermectin as prophylaxis and in a group that wasn't, healthcare workers, not a single one of the group that were given Ivermectin as prophylaxis was actually infected with COVID-19. So there's many other different studies. And to answer your question about getting the public, what should they do? The answer is to read the articles, go onto websites that have authentic information and make up your own mind. This is not a worm medication. It was originally used in the treatment of human beings for river blindness, for human beings, not for animals. But because in South Africa, river blindness was not common, there was no market for ivermectin, the registration of the drug lapsed. And that is the reason why it has only been used in animals. And that is why people say it's an animal prep. But it's not like that. It's not like that at all. The drug originally was used for human beings. So we need to remember that fact. And the fact that it is currently being used in animals doesn't change the fact that it was originally a human drug. Yeah. We need to remember that. And if you need more information about it, ask people who've used ivermectin. Go and look at stories. Because as medical doctors, if somebody tells you a story, it becomes anecdotal because it's not a study.
Yeah.
But if you have a friend who you know somebody who's used it, they will tell you how they react.
We seem to have lost that feed there. But if you are still with us, Doctor, of course, we are then waiting for Judge Cassim Sardiwalla to rule on the issue. Do you think there should be further steps in the event that the judge decides that it shouldn't be used until those further clinical trials of that SAPRA speaks of are in fact then conducted? I mean, obviously, it can go either way at this point. But what do you think should then happen in a case where the judge does in fact rule that, no, this is not going to continue?
Not at all. I am quite confident that Judge Sardiwalla is going to agree. We've actually had a settlement, a draft order with SAPRA, and they've already agreed. And our draft order says that bulk applications have to be made by Section 21, and also the compounding pharmacists are now able to script on a per patient basis. I definitely think that the judge is not going to rule against that. Where the issue comes in is we need to get more information as to how accessible the stock will be, how quickly the stock is going to be made available, who will get access to the stock, who's going to decide how much of stock is going to come in. And I think those are the kind of issues we're currently discussing. It's not an issue of whether or not doctors are going to be able to use it. I am confident that we have passed that hurdle, and two ways doctors can now get ivermectin: by a bulk application, Section 21, or on a per patient basis through a compounding pharmacy. I don't think that's going to change. I'm very hopeful.
All right. Thanks for giving us your time, Dr. Naseeba Kathrada. We'll certainly be looking out for that ruling by Judge Cassim. Thanks for your input then on the topic.
Thank you.
All right, that is Dr. Naseeba Kathrada, who is the COVID Home Management Team founder, and certainly on the side of rather using Ivermectin. But we've heard an opposite view from SAPRA, who are saying that they are saying indeed that there's not enough data at this time that shows that it works. But of course, the doctor's saying, in fact, there is enough data. But at this time, of course, as we know, it's not authorized as we speak.